some of these disasters and calamities that shaped your life, ni kama gani, then that you experienced?
Okay, I think first of all, we can go back even before my time.
Okay.
There have been a couple of major epidemics. One of them was 1920, when people came back from the First World War.
Okay.
1919 and 1920, we had the Spanish flu. They estimate that at that particular time, the world population was 500 million in 1920.
Even yako.
Okay, fine. 1920, the population was 20. And statistics show that we lost about half of the world population then.
The Spanish
through that
flu.
epidemic, yeah, the Spanish flu. In Kenya, many people died. And people may not know that a place called Karatina, as an example, the name Karatina comes from the word quarantine. Because that is where people were put in terms of quarantine. So Karatina is not a Kikuyu name, it's a quarantine. So there are a lot of things that you can see traced back. And also after that, you start seeing some age groups named after an epidemic.
Okay.
So for example, the Kikuyu age group that was initiated in 1920 is called Kimiiri. Because the Kimiiri is to crush in Kikuyu. And that disease was seen as a crusher. It killed a lot of people. So every home knew of somebody who had died. So we have had plague. And I think the plague may have come around, maybe around 1939, 1940. A bubonic plague, which is brought by a rat that is not endemic to Africa. It came with the ships. The house rat you see is not African. It came from Europe. And it came carrying fleas with plague. Then there have been other incidents where the colonialists, unfortunately, our people have not written history. Our history has been written by the oppressor, most of it. One of the things is that jiggers that you see were actually introduced. And that in itself was a jigger. If you Google, you see, is an insect. Its origin is South America. And it was introduced to control populations in Africa. So jigger was introduced in most colonial places to control the community. That became another epidemic that we have actually not been able to resolve up to today.
Sure.
People are still suffering from jiggers. So there have been, we have had issues of locusts. Locusts coming and eating. They used to come in waves during the dry season, eat a lot of the crops, people starve. So we have had those kind of episodes and things. We have had floods. I think there was one in 1960 when I was still a young person. There was a couple of them that have come up where bridges would be washed away, people killed. Then after that, we have had, which is not too common then, landslides. Landslides, in my view, have come because of cutting down of the indigenous trees. When you plant the exotic trees, they do not hold the soil like the indigenous forests that were there. So most of the hills have been left bare. Whether you wanted to plant the exotic trees like gravelia, like eucalyptus, all those things. So we have had a lot of landslides that have also killed people.
Tell us something very briefly about El Nino.
The El Nino, all these things that are coming up, my understanding, and this is now no longer speculation. It is something that has been proven scientifically. It's to do with climate change. Now, when I was telling you about the population in 1920, when the world population was around something like 500 million. I was looking at another book written by another guy who did a lot of evil things in Kenya called Mzee Jagi. I don't know whether anybody has read about it. If you can read the diaries of Mzee Jagi, you can see it. He's the guy who trapped Samoei to come to a meeting, and he shot him. Then cut his head and took it to England to show that he had killed the person who was bringing resistance among the Nandi people. Mzee Jagi also did another massacre in Murang'a. He documented everything himself. The only thing is that is a history that we should be telling our people and teaching them. But unfortunately, we keep on learning about Trump and learning about other things that probably don't have much depth in terms of our history. But Mzee Jagi, when he was writing his diaries, around 1912, he estimated the population of Kenya not to be more than 500,000 at that particular time. And if you do the projections that by the time of independence, 63, we were only 6.8 million. It is possible that was the population. Now, you can imagine a country like Kenya with only 600,000.
Imagine.
In fact, in his diaries, he shows one time that he went with the ox wagons all the way to Eldoret because they were looking for places that they needed to settle. And he says in his diaries that in his way on coming back, he hoped that he would meet a human being because he had not seen a human being between Nairobi and Eldoret. So it just tells you, although our way of using land was nomadic, land was useful to you when it is feeding your cattle. This thing of owning a piece of land and staying there is very Western. Our land was only important when you're using it. So we kept on moving from where the pasture is, for example. And that is why people ask, why didn't African build permanent houses and stone houses? It is because our culture was not made to stay in one place. We were always moving from one place to the other. And therefore you needed a structure that is much more temporary, not permanent.